tick tock, tick tock, tick tock. So what do we have over here? That's not a clock, it's a smartwatch. Hey guys, Raju here for Wearables Arena, and today we are going to review the Qualcomm Toq smartwatch. The wearable markets in general and smartwatches in particular is still in its infancy. The biggest challenge has been with regards to the battery life, as Samsung found out with its original Galaxy Gear smartwatch. People tried to address this with an e-ink display, ensuring that the battery lasts for a few days at a stretch. But that came with a compromise of letting go a bright, colorful and touchscreen display. Qualcomm claims to have nailed these issues with their Toq smartwatch, and today we are going to find out if there is enough stuff to back their claims. The Qualcomm Toq is aimed to be a showcase product which envisions Qualcomm's view of how the smartwatches should be. Other than the processor powering the smartwatch, Qualcomm has developed a display technology specifically intended for wearables, along with a brand new wireless charging technology as well. Make no mistake about it, display is the main selling point of Qualcomm Toq. As we mentioned before, Mirasol display tries to address the limitations of both the e-ink and the LCD or OLED technologies we have seen on other smartwatches. Qualcomm has realized that the Mirasol display, which has been around for a long time, which it suits the smaller screens like smartwatches rather than the smartphones. The Toq comes with an impressive 1.55-inch 288 by 192 pixel display, which is so much better than Pebble's e-ink screen. Of course, it's not as bright and vibrant as the Galaxy Gear OLED screen, but it makes up more than anything else with its impressive battery life, which still remains a big factor. Thankfully, the display on Toq is always on, unlike Samsung's Galaxy Gear, and it works great in almost all the lighting conditions: indoors, outdoors, badly lit, direct sunlight, you name it, and it works great without straining your eyes. When you are in complete dark room, you have an option to double tap the strap on top of the display to switch on the backlight. This is because the way Mirasol works, unlike LCDs, the display isn't backlit by default and uses the light around it to make it more visible. One of the biggest challenges in smartwatches is their design. More often than not, they just replicate smartphones in their looks with blocky rectangular design but with straps. Qualcomm Toq isn't much different here. It carries forward the concept but looks a lot more classy than something like Pebble and even something like Sony Smartwatch 2 to an extent. But the problem with Toq is its size. Not only that, it is 1.55-inch display is bigger than most of the other smartwatches in the market right now. At 91 grams, it's heavier than most. Thankfully, Qualcomm has balanced the weight in such a way that you don't notice that all the time, but the sheer size makes us conscious of carrying it around in public. There are no physical buttons present on Toq. Instead, Qualcomm has provided a couple of sensors on the strap right above and below the display. Double-click above to kick on the display's backlight, or single tap below to access the main menu. The fact that this strap houses these two important sensors means that the users cannot replace them as they wish. Some people would prefer a metal strap, while others might prefer a softer silicone. Unfortunately, both of them are out of luck with Qualcomm Toq. What's even worse is the fact that the Toq's band must be cut to size. That's right, you need to pull out the scissors to cut the band to the correct length. Instruction leaflet tells you how to do this, so in reality, Toq is meant to be a personal smartwatch, and you can't share with anyone else unless their wrist size is similar to yours. The display on Toq looks pretty thin for a watch carrying 240 mAh of battery. That's because the display is not holding the battery. Qualcomm has moved the battery to the end of the strap and looked like a large clasp, which is brilliant. Talking about the battery life, 240 mAh of battery we find on Toq is nearly double than the 130 mAh of battery we find on Pebble, but pretty less when you compare it to Galaxy Gear's 315 mAh of battery. Although the Galaxy Gear has a much bigger battery in terms of size, it hardly lasts a day or two. Thankfully, Toq's battery is optimized and good enough to keep it alive and working for 4 to 5 days at a stretch. This is primarily because Qualcomm's Mirasol display, which uses little to no power while idle. Unlike the Galaxy Gear, it stays on all the time but only uses bare minimum battery. The 200 MHz Cortex M3 chip, which powers the Toq, also contributes to the low power usage while not being used actively. We could easily get 5 days of continuous usage on a single charge with Qualcomm Toq. That's very close to what we get on Pebble, but with a much bigger, better, colorful and a touch screen display. Another cool thing with Qualcomm Toq is its wireless charging capabilities. You get a box-like wireless charger when you buy the smartwatch. To charge, you need to open up the box, pull up the charging panel by clicking a button and simply set the watch down on its side in its lower niche. The display switches to vertical mode to show the charging indicator. The charger uses Qualcomm's Y-Power technology, which is a resonant inductive method and charges super fast. It just took around 1.5 hours to get the watch charged from 0 to 100%. Qualcomm Toq is compatible with any smartphone running Android 4.0.3 or higher. Unfortunately, it can't work with the iPhone or the Windows Phone as of now. We paired it with the Sony Xperia Z2 using the Bluetooth, and the setup and pairing was very simple and straightforward. We had to start off with downloading the Qualcomm Toq app from the Play Store and use the instructions to pair up with the smartwatch. The app itself is very well designed and easy to understand for a first-time user. The preferences section houses all the features and the settings required to customize the Toq, including watch faces, menu, notifications and many more. You get around 14 watch faces, which are pretty neat and useful for most cases, and a few of them comes with additional information like weather, calendar and stock info. By default, Toq serves up notifications on weather information, battery life, Bluetooth connection status and few other things, but others which land up on your Android smartphone get duplicated onto Toq as well. One can pick and choose these apps which can send notifications to your smartwatch, but most of these notifications are just previews that won't let you take any action whatsoever, essentially making the Toq more glanceable than interactive. But one can reply to the text messages using one of the many quick reply templates, or even use voice to text feature, which is powered by Nuance, to reply back. The user interface within the watch is a bit confusing to start with. We had to struggle to navigate through different screens as Toq employs gesture-based touchscreen interaction along with the sensor pad which resides on the strap. The interface is divided into horizontal and vertical pages that are accessed by swiping. You can swipe through the white band present on the lower part of the screen to alternate between various watch faces. In order to go to the menu page, you have to swipe the sensor pad on the strap. Then you can swipe vertically to check the various applets installed on the smartwatch. Tapping on individual applet icon will take you to the applet main screen. The discovery involves tapping and swiping around. It's somewhat confusing because the watch will display notifications containing snippets of emails or text or other alerts, and you need to tap on them individually to get to the full message. You will eventually understand the logic behind these interactions, but Toq definitely has a huge learning curve to begin with. Qualcomm Toq comes with some basic applets pre-installed. This includes Communications Hub, Calendar, Music Center, a stock applet and an activity tracker. The Communications Hub houses the logs of your recent calls and messages, and you can even use it to send a quick reply as we mentioned before. You can scroll through the contacts and even place the call from the applet, but would need the phone to communicate. The activity applet uses the pedometer present on the Toq, which is a very basic thing. It's not that complex. It's a very simple pedometer which is present on Toq to count and log the data. You can use the smartphone app to check back these logs at a later date. The calendar applet uses Google Calendar to get the latest appointments and does pretty well to alert you at the right time. Music player is simple and works well. The stock applet is basic and is useful only for market buffs. Sadly, there are no third-party applets yet, and we hope Qualcomm ropes in third-party developers to soon beef up their offerings. So finally, should you buy it? Well, that depends on the expectations. As a smartwatch buff who has owned other smartwatches like Pebble, MetaWatch, Galaxy Gear, I actually loved Qualcomm Toq. But that's because it addresses several annoyances I have had with my previous watches, like being always on, being colorful, touchscreen display, great battery life, and wireless charging. But Qualcomm Toq is far from being perfect. Qualcomm has made some weird design decisions. The unusually big display with non-swappable straps and a clunky clasp can annoy a lot of people. The user interface is a bit confusing and takes time to get used to. The applets are limited and hence limits the functionality overall. All this makes Qualcomm Toq a hard sell at the original price of $350. Luckily, the price has dropped to $249 US right now, and that makes it a very decent price for someone who is looking to buy a smartwatch right away. But if you can wait a bit, we would recommend you to wait for the third party OEMs to use all these brilliant Qualcomm features like the Mirasol display and the wireless charging on their own smartwatches, which are expected to come later this year. So that's what our review of the Qualcomm Toq is. If you are keen to have a very detailed look at it, go to variablesarena.com to find a full detailed review of Qualcomm Toq. If you have any questions, do let us know through the comment section below. If you like this particular video, give a thumbs up and do subscribe for more such video reviews coming soon on Variables Arena. This is Raju signing off.